Is Britain racist today? Well, we're going to have our sociologist and analyst on the case, and that's Lee Anderson. So let's explore this question with this man. So let's get straight into it.
To Lee Anderson's Real World. I'm Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Member of Parliament for Ashfield. And joining me tonight, we've got Benjamin Butterworth. He's our left in the corner and the first time on the show. And the very lovely Chloe Dobbs, political commentator. She's back for about the fifth or sixth time. But first, guys, before we get stuck into it, we'll have a little look at this video of Dawn Butler, the MP for Brent Eastwood. Ben, just have a quick look at this.
You wanted to see me broken, head bowed and tears in my eyes. More for you didn't realise that my strength is powered by your lies. You are the wrong one, the violent one, the weird one, whereas I am the chosen one.
So, Chloe, we're seeing words like wrong, violent and weird. Who is she talking to?
I mean, we can't know for certain, but it seems to me like she's talking to white people.
Yeah.
And if you ask me, this is just, it's a new kind of racism. She's made up a racism that doesn't really exist.
So, this is what we have to contend with. When people call out racism, often racists get very defensive. You call me a racist, I'll argue my point, but they have to be defensive and call it a new racism. So now, if anybody calls out any form of racism, you are now the racist. And this is basically because they've got no argument. She can't argue a point. She has to act like a child and go, no, you're the racist, and that's it. And that's not an argument. That is not an argument. It's a childish kind of retort, and it's defensive, and it is this victim mentality. Now white people are the victim of racism. It's just absolutely stupid.
In the UK, I'm sure there are a few racist people in the UK, but we are lucky to live in one of the least racist, if not the least racist country in the world. And they've made up this issue and act like us white people are all oppressors. And
that's a straw man. She's not saying that. This is the mischaracterization of the position. No one's saying everyone's racist. Most people would agree with her. We are probably one of the least racist countries in the world, but we still have a long way to go. There is racism, and it comes from people like Lee Anderson, and it comes from the Tories who have stirred up a lot of hate. So it's ironic when you can't call it out, because all of a sudden now the white people are the victim, and it's just pure projection, basically.
A new kind of racism, if you ask me.
Benjamin, surely there's no room in politics for this sort of divisive dog whistle politics. Are you going to call this out?
You can see the smile on his face. He knows what he's saying there. Divisive dog whistle politics. He knows exactly what he's saying. And it's all projection again. It's all projection. It's all perceived hypocrisy or projection. So he knows. He's intelligent enough to know what a dog whistle is, believe it or not. And he uses them constantly. And they just project what they're doing onto other people. That's it. That's all they're doing. It's really that simple. Because you can overanalyze it and be like, oh, are they kind of like more sophisticated than this? No, they're really not.
You're an MP, so clearly there is... I think I found that really emotional, what Dawn was saying, because the point she's making is basically irony. She's pointing out that there are these hideous, lazy, racist tropes that people look at, particularly black people of African origin, and they think they are somehow unsophisticated or incapable, violent. And what she's doing in that video is putting that back. She's making the point of just how unjust and unfair that is, because of course you can't judge a people like that, but that's what many black people in this country still feel like they're on the receiving end of.
I don't know what world you're living in, Benjamin. Surely you can come back on this one, Chloe. I don't know what world Benjamin's living in on this. I don't see this.
I can say, as a white person, that I have never in my life looked at a black person or any other person of colour and thought that is an unsophisticated, violent person just because of the colour of their skin, which is what Benjamin seems to be suggesting that white people do. And, I'm sure there are a few people in this country that are genuine racists. That's going to be the case in every single country.
of all colours.
Of all colours, yes, absolutely. There will be a few people, but England is one of the least racist countries in the world. And if
She keeps saying that, but that's the point, is that it's not a conscious thing. There's unconscious bias. It's systemic racism, not individual racism. And yeah, people day to day, there is obviously face-to-face racism, but it's deeply entrenched. Black people, on average in the UK, are poorer than their white counterparts. And it is historic and economic just disparities. And she's completely missing the point here. And that's the point, because to her, racism is I hate black people. The bar is always raised so high. I don't hate black people, but she, I assume, would support policies that would curtail immigration and certain people coming over to the country. So it's a bit more subtle than that, but they have to make these straw men of, all white people are oppressors, and anytime you call out racism, it's all white people. It's just, it's a straw man.
a person of colour, this is one of the best places that you could grow up and live. And these people should be saying how glad they are to live in a country where they experience far less racism.
They have to be thankful. But what if people, hate crimes have gone up against Muslims. They have to be thankful for the mistreatment they're getting just because they're in a less racist country than somewhere else. That's kind of disgusting. It's just the idea that, be thankful for you're getting slightly less racism
than in other countries that they could live in. And I think that they've just created a problem that doesn't exist. It's this whole victimhood mentality. And we saw...
See, again, projection. She's talking about there's a new racism against white people. No, that's the problem that doesn't exist. I'm not saying racism doesn't happen towards white people, but it doesn't have the systemic clout that it does towards black people. And yeah, we should call out racism towards white people when it happens. But I guarantee it's not happening nearly as much as it is to people of colour. So BAME people, black people, Muslims. It's just not the same.
Dawn Butler, when she came into Parliament after the general election, doing a selfie with all the other MPs of colour, saying, let's celebrate the melanin. David Lammy also banging on about the colour of his skin after the general election. It's like, why don't you say, I got to this position on merit? I got here because I worked hard, rather than saying that it's...
Yeah, but white people don't do that. Boris Johnson didn't have to do that. David Cameron didn't have to do that. George Osborne, they just got purely based on their class. So when someone who historically has not been represented in Parliament reaches that height, why can't they celebrate that? The fact that black people have not been represented in Parliament. Diane Abbott was the first one in the late 80s. So it's very simplistic to say, don't talk about your race. But then it's okay for her to bring in anti-identity politics and so talk about, racism towards white people. It's hypocrisy, and she's just confused. She doesn't know what she's talking about.
The colour of your skin that makes you credited for that position. I just think it's absolutely bonkers.
To be fair, it is divisive, this is. Why are people in this day and age still banging on about their skin colour when the UK is actually probably the most tolerant country in the world, as Chloe says?
Well, you call it the least racist country. The fact is there are still people from ethnic minorities. You'd struggle to find anybody in an ethnic minority in Britain who didn't say they had been on the receiving end of something abusive or belittling in their life. They would all say that, including people
Benjamin,
who were
everybody in the country's come across abusive, language. Everybody.
Right, but...
Yeah, but not based on our skin colour. Comment below. Have you been verbally attacked, physically attacked for your skin colour, for being white? I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but nowhere near enough compared to black people, people of colour, people of immigrants, Jewish people. It's just not the same. To compare the two, it's such a victim mentality. You cannot compare the two. I'm not saying there's not problems. I'm not saying that white people haven't been attacked. I'm sure they have, but it's not proportionate to how people of colour. It's just...
Workplace, you know, when you're out socialising, we all get it, but we don't keep banging on and on about it.
But the difference...
That's all he ever bangs on about is the victim mentality. Oh, I'm being persecuted for my views. I'm racist. That's all he ever does. That's all the right ever do. Oh, you're calling us racist. This is exactly what he's doing now. He's got a victim persecutory complex. That's exactly what he is doing now. And he's so unaware. The cognitive dissonance is off the scale.
Is that, you know, if that happens to you, maybe it's because of your personality or your politics. But this is happening because of something these people can't change, right? And it's happening not because of the content of their character, but because of the way they're built. And they will tell you that over and over again. Dawn Butler, for example, was driving a car with a friend who was also black, and the car was registered, the number plate in Yorkshire, and she got pulled over by the police because it was a rather nice car. Now, if that's not some racism, then I don't know what is, and that's what she said.
Yeah, would Lee Anderson be pulled over? I'm sure he's got a lovely car. Would he be pulled over for the colour of his skin? Oh, you've not... It would never happen, and that's the point. It's not even comparable in a way because, yeah, racism does happen towards white people, and maybe now more than ever. But to call out, to say that, oh, now white people are now the victims of racism, and by calling out racism, you are now racist, is just absolutely wild to me.
And a lot of people agreed with her. And frankly, you know, I think you should probably listen to black people or Asian people rather than a group of white people saying they don't have any issues.
I do listen to black people, Benjamin, Chloe. I do listen to Asian people, my friends, and they...
He's got a black friend. It's the classic tropes of, I'm not racist, my best friends are black. I'll be very doubtful if Lee Anderson has any black or Asian friends. I could be wrong. I'm willing to be proven wrong on that. But I'd be very surprised. But that defense, they're using every trope here. It's actually ridiculous. And they're completely unaware of what they're doing.
Pull this nonsense out as well.
I think the vast majority would. I think that we're living in an era where many people, especially people in Gen Z, they are creating problems that don't exist. But it is a small minority of people shouting very loud, and the vast majority of them would say that these problems do not exist. We are one of...
This is ironic when you talk about the immigration debate, when most immigrants contribute very small levels of crime, pretty much on the same par as the native population. So it's ironic, again, they're projecting problems but they don't exist. There's bigger problems than immigrants coming in. Often it's the people in power are causing the problems, not the people coming over in small boats.
The luckiest generations to ever live. We're so lucky to be alive now. We've got so many opportunities, and we've been lucky to be born in one of the best countries in the world. We could be born in some slum in a third world country.
That's true. That's true.
You know, if you think of all the countries in the world, you know, the chances of being born in Britain, it's so slim. We're so lucky to be here, and we should feel grateful.
And we're so racist, guys, that people will risk their lives to get here on small boats. But we'll just put that one to...
So it's so racist, people risk their lives to come in small boats. The ultimate irony. But you want to stop those people coming on small boats, even though they have the legal right to come over here under the 1951 Refugee Convention. They have the right, irregular means, they can come over, doesn't matter how they come over, in a spaceship, on a UFO, whatever, they have the right to come over. So this is the debate today. This is the average debate on the right about racism. It's impossible to have a nuanced, mature conversation when you've got straw man, projection, just hypocrisy, victim mentality. And is it going to get better? I hope so. So that's all I have for you today. Comment below. How do you deal with this? Is Britain racist? I don't think so. I think we are the least racist country in the world. But we still got problems and we still have issues. And it's people like Lee Anderson that are the issue. So comment below, is Britain racist? And how do we talk about this? Because straw men and projection isn't the way. I'll see you in the next video.